lucky enough to work with artists pretty much my whole life in the music business, visual artists, and now technologists. I've also worked with some very creative executives at companies like Disney, Toyota, Intuit, Royal Caribbean, and many others. The executives at these companies are mostly dreamers. They're always trying to create something new, something valuable, and their products have as much, if not more, impact on our lives as a good movie or stage play. And their work is always, like a movie or a stage play, a team effort. Unfortunately, there are many people, processes, and tools that get in between their big ideas and the realization of those ideas. One of those groups of people, and I know because I used to be one, are attorneys. In fact, attorneys are usually heading in the opposite direction from creativity. Attorneys prepare for disaster, not kismet. And sometimes they can reduce the chances of creativity by appending a 100-page detailed requirements doc to the statement of work. As a consultant, I want to unleash our partners' potential, not constrain it. A requirements doc doesn't help. A very detailed statement of work doesn't help. I want our vendors to want to create something even cooler than we envisioned in the backlog. So I'd like to recommend a few pointers on helping your attorneys change their approach a little bit, and maybe a few contract clauses to allow for more creativity, while at the same time protecting yourselves from disaster. First, let's lay the foundation for change in the Master Services Agreement, or MSA. You've got to think big and think forward a bit, negatively, I'm afraid, in the Master Services Agreement. Here's my tip. Talk to your attorney specifically about review, cure, and termination periods. My recommendation is that in the Master Services Agreement, try to conform your review, cure, and termination periods to whatever your sprint schedule is. Then you need to be clear on how long of a period you need to cure if the deliverable doesn't meet the acceptance criteria, or the ACs. My recommendation is if the ACs weren't met in the sprint, you get another sprint to cure or fix the situation. And it's the same for an increment. If you don't deliver the MVP you expected to see or deliver it, you should have another increment to cure the situation. Now, you do this collaboratively with your team and your vendors, not at arm's length. You find out why things change and you make adjustments and you give them another period to cure. This may sound a bit fast and maybe even a bit brutal. Most contracts allow for a much longer time for cure, but I think in the agile process we need to slice it down and look at things much more quickly, and then be very upfront with our vendors that we need to make a change. Again, I believe software development is a creative endeavor. If you work with a songwriter or a lyricist or a choreographer and it's just not working, after a couple days, why drag it out? There's no symbiosis. No harm, no foul. If they're pros, they'll want to cut it short before you do. You also want to make sure that providing notice of cure, notice of termination, if even after the cure period things are not working, that everybody agrees how long you have to notify each other so you can part ways amicably. I would recommend, again, you have a sprint to create the work, a sprint to cure, and if it's still not working, you provide termination notice, and then they've got another sprint or another increment, whichever the case may be, to actually roll their people off and either roll new people on or you get a new vendor. In the next video, I'd like to talk about how you can allow for more creativity. In fact, encourage more creativity in your statements of work, the smaller, more detailed documents that fall underneath the Master Services Agreement. I hope to see you then.